Today I'm going to be talking about the science behind Down syndrome, also known as trisomy 21. So the agenda for today is to identify the basic science of Down syndrome, including chromosome location, whether the mutation is at the DNA level, symptoms of trisomy 21, pathology and prognosis, genetic medicine, and possible treatments for trisomy 21. Basic science of Down syndrome shows that it's an autosomal chromosome abnormality in humans. So there's extra genes and DNA that causes changes in the development of the embryo, which results in physical and mental abnormalities. So Down syndrome affects chromosome 21 by it obtaining an extra copy of that chromosome. So instead of 46 chromosomes plus the two sex chromosomes in an offspring, there are 47 chromosomes. It most commonly occurs in the DNA level during replication. And for most Down syndrome patients, the genotype is 47 chromosomes plus the two sex chromosomes instead of the 46 chromosomes plus the two sex chromosomes in patients and people who don't have Down syndrome. This is a karyotype showing Down syndrome and showing the extra copy of chromosome in chromosome 21. And here is another image showing that extra chromosome from the egg on the mother side. And so this is also known as non-disjunction cell division. So once the chromosomes divide on the mother side, there was an extra chromosome on one side. So there was 24 chromosomes instead of 23. And when fertilization occurred, the offspring resulted in having 47 chromosomes instead of 46 chromosomes. Symptoms of Down syndrome include smaller head and neck, flat face and upward slanting eyes, flat ears that are positioned lower, a protruding tongue that's too large for the mouth, and joints that tend to be more flexible, but also muscle tone that is lacked. So these are mostly phenotypic characteristics that Down syndrome patients show. And here you can see an infant with Down syndrome. They have the flat round face, they have the short stocky build, small nose, mouth, and ears, the white eyes on colored part of the eyes, the white spots on the colored part of the eyes. And so those are some physical characteristics that some Down syndrome patients tend to have. Prognosis for Down syndrome is that most patients are prone to developing Alzheimer's at the age of 40, but those who maintain a stable mental capacity tend to have a longer lifespan. A poorer prognosis is for those patients who develop dementia or lose the ability to perform daily activities and have decreased vision. But the prognosis of Down syndrome is dependent on every patient and dependent on how they are able to perform daily life tasks. Here you can see the pathology of Down syndrome. The cell division abnormalities results in an extra chromosome in chromosome 21. And most of the time, trisomy 21 or Down syndrome isn't inherited, but translocation Down syndrome is passed from parent to child. And translocation Down syndrome is a less common type of Down syndrome, but it's a Down syndrome where there's an extra piece of chromosome 21 attached to another chromosome. And so then this delivers more genetic material to the new cell than is needed. And this is not very common. Only about 3 to 4% of children with Down syndrome have translocation, and not all of them inherit it from one of their parents. The expected lifespan for Down syndrome patients are up to 60 years old, but it's all dependent on the individual and on the severity of their disease. Here's a general Punnett square showing the possibility of an offspring having Down syndrome, but this is a general scenario if there were two heterozygous parents, carriers of the disease, they potentially can have a child with the disease, but it's all dependent on the parent, and some offspring don't even have Down syndrome. So this is just a very general scenario of Down syndrome. Genetic medicine for Down syndrome is something new and recent. So recent discovery of new genetic therapy could turn off the genetic effect of Down syndrome. Chromosome therapy aims at fixing a whole chromosome. However, it's been shown that chromosome therapy might be able to silence the chromosome by turning off the genes expressed. And a lab was conducted indicating that reusing a gene called XIST, which is found in females to decrease one of the X chromosomes, may actually silence the chromosome 21 in Down syndrome. There are still many years to come before this technique is actually put in effect for humans, but it is something new that has occurred in genetic medicine that can potentially silence chromosome 21 and its effects. And this here shows the possible treatments for individuals who have Down syndrome. So this is a child, and most people who have Down syndrome have developed it from birth and have had it since birth. And so for infants, it usually is a lot harder for them to learn basic, fine, and gross motor skills, like sitting and crawling and walking. And so parents tend to use kind of a team approach with the medical team to try to treat their child as much as possible by going to physical therapists or occupational therapists, different medical professionals who can help strengthen those skills that they might be lacking due to their disease. And this is my works cited page.